I am hugely disappointed in Mike Ryan. I cannot tell you how deeply my disappointment runs. Mike Leach did not appear in the show yesterday until the postgame, and it's something that should have been a tapestry on everything that we were doing yesterday. Did you end up playing both the sounds from the Mike Leach press conference, the one where he cleared his throat into the microphone and the coughing sound, or did you just play one of them?
Well, they both have that sound in there. There is one egregious one, but I kind of want to sit on it for Greg to actually saunter into the studio because there are so many similarities between Mike Leach and Greg Cote in that clip.
We will wait for Greg Cote.
We can revisit yesterday's sound.
Yes, let's do that. Greg Cote will be here in a moment. Stugotz ostensibly will be here in a moment. But let's just play the sound. And I really didn't think that Fish Sandwich and Fat Girlfriend would be silver and bronze medalists in the category of this sound. But him clearing his throat into the microphone in a way that is phlegmy and disgusting is a real joy to hear.
You know, instead of playing hard and getting a first down and getting a play, then, you know, you want to sit behind a shade tree, eat a fish sandwich, and drink a lemonade with your fat little girlfriend.
He knows what he's doing there. There's a flourish on that.
Let's hear it all again. Again, the fish sandwich, the fat little girlfriend.
Sit behind a shade tree, eat a fish sandwich, drink a lemonade with your fat little girlfriend.
After the cascade of phlegm, like he really nails the extension and the echo of the throat clearing. I don't think I don't think any of us have been fined for doing it this aggressively.
You know, instead of playing hard and getting a first down and getting a play, then, you know, you want to sit behind a shade tree, eat a fish sandwich, and drink a lemonade with your fat little girlfriend.
I want that to be my alarm clock, that clearing of the throat.
No one clears their throat that way.
Can you, like you did in the postgame yesterday, can you isolate this to see how good this would be as an alarm in the morning? Better than the tinkling bells that usually wake you.
Sit behind
You like the coughing better than that,
The
Mike?
coughing is just it's an insane sound. I think it's a rib, honestly. We can't tease this long enough. I don't know where Greg Cote is, but the coughing sound is ridiculous. Here is this is real sound from this post-game press conference, in which Mike Leach really leans into crotchety old man.
I didn't even get to event that, you know, and then all of a sudden, well, they're kicking it off. And then I'm working on this trademark cough. What do you think? It's getting better, too. Well, then we marched it downfield. I thought we could have been closer. We marched it downfield.
That literally sounds like Greg Cote. Like if Greg Cote gave that press conference, it would not be surprising.
We marched it downfield.
In the middle of this, I want you guys to hear in the middle of it, enjoy the tone change. If I told you, didn't show you the video and just said, in the middle of this fit, Mike Leach is punched in the stomach. Someone comes in and punches him in the stomach. Listen in the middle of this. I can't believe how long this went.
I didn't even get to event that, you know, and then all of a sudden, well, they're kicking it off. And then I'm working on this trademark cough. What do you think? It's getting better, too. Well, then we marched it downfield. I thought we could have been closer.
It's getting better.
Offensive genius.
I thought we could have been closer.
Leader of men.
I love the persistence on trying to make the point.
He feels like that one right there that Mike just played. That's going to be it. I'm going to get through it, but it's not.
It's the last one.
I heard you and Billy before the show started, and we'll get to the Heat stuff in a second. That's what it felt like at the end of the game last night.
Josh Hart did that to you.
No, before that.
Coughed it up, huh?
It's not. It wasn't Josh Hart. It's when Chauncey Billups didn't call timeout, and this is the sound Spoelstra made when he realized Duncan had to stay on the court. And now it's Duncan on Lillard, and what does Lowry do? Go cover Lillard. That's it. It's so bad. But you guys were talking, you and Billy, Chris, were talking about Adam Schefter's body. You were spending a lot of time objectifying him.
I don't know. What's Adam Schefter doing? He's sold out for clicks. I feel like when the producer pitches that to him. Haven't we all? I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
I think Adam Schefter is dying for someone to ask him to take his shirt off.
He did look. That's the lead right there. Billy was saying that. What were you saying? Like
someone tweeted at me and they were 100% right, and I didn't know that this happened until they tweeted at me. Adam Schefter looked the way I thought Kirk Cousins would look with his shirt off, if that makes sense. Because I was shocked by Kirk Cousins' body, right? I thought that when he was doing that dance, he would have looked the way Adam Schefter looked, which is not meant as an insult. It's a compliment. Like, Adam Schefter looks like a possibly slightly out of shape starting NFL quarterback.
I was more impressed by Schefter's body at 50 than Cousins at 30. I was.
Well, I have bad news. It was a worse body.
You guys were fawning over the body of Kirk Cousins, and I imagine actual fit people in our audience have a different definition for ripped than you do.
But also, like Kirk Cousins is a professional athlete. For Kirk Cousins to be in great shape is not a surprise. Adam Schefter's job dictates that he spends like 18 hours a day on his phone. Where does he have time for physical fitness? How does he have time to look like that?
I thought that Schefter was obvious to all of you by his suits, that he was a blocky Jay Glazer type, that he is fit and square and strong. I thought that was
more
obvious.
Meat bone. There was a little bit more definition there that I assumed. And I'm right there with Whitty. I don't have the time to go to the gym. Go to the gym maybe once or twice a week. Where does Adam Schefter find the time?
I've got Schefter on a treadmill in his office, like on his phone the whole time.
Yeah. Oh, he's got one of those where it's like you're sitting in the chair and like the device is doing the treadmill for you.
Yeah.
Or you have like the stationary bike underneath your desk. I might buy one here for the studio.
I've been on a Zoom meeting with JT Daly's manager, and he was on a treadmill the entire 90-minute Zoom. It was very unsettling, and I imagine that's what Adam Schefter does.
It's the only way. Otherwise, it's impossible to look like that with your and also to your point, Chris, like the producer that pitched him, I feel really bad that it wasn't in the studio. And I know that it's still like the millions of people, but I honestly felt worse for him that he's doing it in a stadium full of people. That there's 22,000 people presumably there that early before kickoff that are watching him shirtless on the field.
But why do you care? Because he doesn't seem to mind. He seems to be embracing it. He seemed to enjoy it.
If you read the body language, he still kept the arms a little tight. You know, he didn't want to like fully lean into it. There was still
there could have also been a lack of dancing confidence as well. It could have been. I didn't think it was a lack of shirtless confidence.
I don't understand. Why are we mad that Schefter's confident and that he has a good body?
Who's mad about it?
There's two kinds of people in the world. There's people that take their shirts off, and there's people that don't. Schefter's clearly a guy that takes his shirt off.
God bless him too.
No,
why can't he take his shirt off?
I'm longing for the courage. I think that's what Whitty was just kind of speaking to. Whitty, you're not a. I'm assuming by you saying that, you're like me, not a guy that just wants to whip his shirt off at any moment.
I dread the day that soccer becomes shirts versus skins.
Like I said,
I've never seen you shirtless.
I hated that. Growing up, when you would go to the field to play like tag football, I was like, please don't be on the shirtless team.
Right.
Please just pick me on the shirts team. Mm-hmm. It's a sad existence. Makes me sad thinking back to those fears back in those days.
Would you take his body today? I would. I would take his 50-year-old body today.
Absolutely.
100%.
At any point in my life, I would take Schefter's body.
Yeah?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Yep. He's in better shape today than I've ever been in.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo, at LeBatard Show. Was Adam Schefter dying for a producer to tell him to take his shirt off? Greg Cote has now arrived. We have the Mike Leach sound here for Greg Cote. See if you see any of yourself in the mirror here with this sound that we're going to play of Mike Leach.
I didn't even get to invent that, and then all of a sudden, well, they're kicking it off. And then
Oh my God.
I'm working on this trademark cough. What do you think? It's
what I
getting
sound
better
like?
too. Well, then we marched it downfield. I thought we could have been closer.
It's like $45 in fines.
Are you kidding me? If I were doing a parody of coughing too much, it would sound like that. Wow. I've never been that bad, right?
But like weekly.
Yeah, you have.
Not that bad. Right. See, I don't continue to try to get through it when I'm that
Yes, you
bad.
do.
This is
you
rich.
You run out of breath all the time.
We marched it down field.
I'm sorry, Mike. I'm not laughing at your cough. I'm laughing at your pain.
It's getting better, too.
Is it? Really?
He stole your trademark, though. Didn't you try to trademark the cough?
I did try to trademark it, and the patent office hadn't gotten back to me yet.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
And I know I have a nephew who works at the patent office. I still can't get a break. No, when I saw Schefter, the first thing I thought of was the network's test for steroids. I have to admit, that was the first thing that came to my mind.
Terrible.
What a terrible cough. I feel bad for Mike Leach. What's wrong with him? Wow.
Do you have a family member, Chris Cote, in the patent
No.
office? Or you're
Yes, we do, son.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do, son.
You want me to tell you his name?
Yes, yeah.
How about Joe W?
Joey W.
Patent office.
Yes.
W.
What do you think he does for a living?
I don't want to say because he does something else. He doesn't like us talking about what he does for a
That's
living.
why I didn't use his
Well, this
last
isn't
name.
shady at all.
this whole thing, man. This whole thing is shrouded in mystery and weirdness.
Yeah, do
that
not
I-
use his last name.
That I was.
Whatever
We
you
haven't
do.
told us what
Dangerous
his last
game?
name is.
What family secrets do you have that we can't say Joe W's last name?
I thought he was a college official.
What?
What?
does he work in a college patent office?
Cody is staring silently at his son as if Mafia secrets are being told.
Yeah. No, he works for the patent office. Christopher knows very little about the family tree.
Wait a
Joe
minute.
W.
I have no clue if my dad's doing a bit right now.
I am not doing a bit. Call your mother right now. Say, what does Joe do for a living?
This is the least interesing payoff in the
No,
history.
but I
of
want to
radio.
know. Call your mom right now and
Well,
ask
actually,
her. I do want to know.
she's in trial in Gainesville right now. Not a good time to call.
Oh, boy.
Now that I think about it.
Chris Cote, Greg Cote has come in like gangbusters, just coming in and pooping right away in
Ganging
the middle
it.
of everything that we're doing. And yesterday on the show, in a way that was super disturbing, Chris Cote, in a Jerry Falwell Jr. type of move, said that he would be okay with Mike McDaniel doing things sensually to his wife while he stood in a corner watching Tyreek Hill highlights. And
You somehow made it sound worse.
well, you said you were fine with McDaniel. You said you're so excited about Dolphin offense that Homer Cody, Greg Cote is going to end up being right. These two receivers by themselves are both going to have 3,000 yards.
Yes, correct. They're the best tandem, one of the best tandems in history. Seriously.
That's a man that's afraid to say better than Clayton and Duper.
No, I wrote
Say
that. I wrote that 3 months ago. They're going to be better than
They're
Clayton.
gonna
and
be,
Duper.
or are they better?
Well, right now,
They
9
won't say
games
it?
in. I mean, come on. Clayton and Duper did it for a 5 or 6 year period. These guys have just been together for 9 games. But what Waddle did last year was obviously not a fluke. He caught 100 passes. Everybody goes, he'll never do that again, especially now that all the balls are going toward Tyreek Hill. Well, this has been great for Waddle. And Tyreek Hill has been all that. I mean, everybody said they spent too much to get him. Nope, they didn't, because what's happened is Tua is now the best version of Tua, which I predicted. I've been pro Tua the whole time when everybody doubted him and wanted to trade him. So,
Can we give Christopher an opportunity to clarify what it is he would let Mike McDaniel do to his wife?
Look, I'm emotional. All right, I'm excited about this offense. I was just doing a thing. He could do anything to me. I'll still love him.
the scary part is I talked to his wife. She goes, "Yeah, I'd be fine with that." So that worries me a little bit for Christopher.
What does John W. do that we're fine with all of these jokes, but we can't get into Joe W.'s
Joe
job?
W.,
Yeah. Is he like he works in the bursar's
John
office?
Yeah.
What does a college official mean?
He officiates college football games.
Hmm.
And that's the career I know that he doesn't want talked about. And that's why when my dad's talking about
So
him,
that's why I just said it on the national air. Because I know he doesn't want to talk about. So I'm going to say on the #1 podcast in America that he officiates college
But you
football
started
games.
telling me he does something different, so I'm just like, what?
And he does.
He has him in the patent office. I mean,
Like a lot of people, he has
Right.
2 jobs.
So does he not do patents, or is that that's a fake job?
No, that's a real job.
Huh.
I believe Greg.
Thank you. Why would I lie about who makes up that somebody works for the patent office?
I don't know. There's
Such an obscure
Well,
job.
you've made up doctors.
yeah.
for
I haven't
years.
gotten down to
Right.
this Dr. McGillicuddy thing. I haven't-
He's real.
yeah.
He's real.
Dr. M.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the guy in the wood panel in Mississippi was
there's,
also real.
there's a diner of sorts that I can't find the origins to.
Okay,
so
Nellie's Diner is real. It's on 1440
Nellie's.
Zagacki Street, downtown.
Greg Cote just made a reference to freedom and the doctor on at 4 a.m., the wood panel doctor
Yeah.
on at 4 a.m.
I love it.
top 5 thing that I've ever been a part
One
of.
of the best things we've ever done.
Talking about my belly button,
As
which
a
is bigger than
network
ever.
at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
with the doctor who gave off infomercial vibes, buying time vibes, with paneling in his house from the 1980s on the walls, being very serious about your belly button
Yes.
and diagnosing you from afar. It would go on my top 5 things to have ever happened around this program.
in a 24-hour marathon,
Yeah.
we did 1 hour of things that I'm very proud of, and it's that 4 a.m. hour.
From Tupelo, Mississippi.
I just texted Joe, do you work at a patent office? His response, yes.
Wow. You apologize to your dad.
McGillicuddy's real.
Look, he has 2 jobs. I remembered the cooler job. Like I don't know what he does.
Did you? Because I think a patent office would be a pretty damn cool job.
Really?
Yeah. Hell yeah. Secretive job, though. Government.
Billy, we're an audio medium, and for the last month or so, all you've done is point at people. Like, can you give me whatever your enthusiasm is behind the point?
I just said I'm with Greg. I pointed at Greg. Sometimes people need a good point in their direction for
Yeah,
the
it's great.
encouragement. You know,
Yep.
I don't want to be a chatty Cathy. I don't want to come on here and take up people's time. So I'll just point at them and let them know, keep it moving, keep it going. I support you. Mm-hmm. That's the one.
Here's why it's tough being me. Part of my persona seems to be that, unintentionally, sometimes I make up shit. Sometimes I'm actually telling the truth, but it sounds like I'm making it up. Mm-hmm. What's the truth? What is real? Right. Nobody seems to know.
Do you really wipe your ass with your hand when you run out of toilet paper?
Not routinely.
But you have.
Yeah, hasn't everybody?
What a great answer.
and at the tip of his tongue. It wasn't like you had to wait for a second looking for the joke. It was
That
just
answer's right there.
Not
You're rocking it
not
today.
routinely.
I'm not going to lie.
The thing about you, Greg, and this is not up for dispute, you make so many heavy-handed jokes where you are faking things that it becomes confusing. I legitimately thought you were making up, to be funny, a random detail about knowing someone in the patent office, just because of the randomness of it. And I never know when you're telling the truth or making a terrible joke.
Good. Let's keep it that way.
I'm with him.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike.
Mike wants the Miami Heat to tank.
Tank it. Tank it.
They're on the way.
Yeah.
They're in
Mike.
12th place.
What do you mean? I
out of
want them
15
to.
Teams.
It appears like they are.
Yeah.
Geez, stinky. Same players being stinky. I don't like them. I don't like them this year. Bad.
There have been teams in the Miami Heat that have more merited tanking than this one, and yet it's always been a defining quality of Heat fans is we never tank.
Right.
We believe in our culture. Even when we were 11-30, we that 30-11 second half was worth it all, even though it kind of wrecked the franchise for 3 or 4 years because they signed players to terrible contracts. It's not what the Miami Heat do, is what I've always been told. We mock the Philadelphia 76ers because their tanking was stupid. Why have you reversed course?
Just tank for 1 year. Tank for this guy.
Too good to tank. Hashtag.
You know they're not going to tank, though, Mike.
No, I know that.
I mean, I understand what you want and why you want it, but they're not going to tank. I mean,
This is
the same team was a shot away from the finals.
But that's
This
the
is
plan. The plan's
stunning
not
what
working.
you're doing. Stunning after 11 games.
The plan isn't working. So they need to do something. They need to make a move. I'd rather them make a move and go for it. But they've kind of struck out on all these things. You have Durant. Brooklyn's still unsettled. I know they lost again last night. Luka was brilliant. Durant actually missed key free throws.
Did you
down
see
the
he
stretch.
had made 62 in a row, and he missed one in the last seconds?
Make them when they count.
I was always saying after Durant went back to Brooklyn. They decided to run it back, a decision that, I mean, we can laugh at right now, that there's always going to be a disgruntled superstar. You may not see him, but around the corner, there's always a Damian Lillard, Bradley Beal type that's just going to become disgruntled and try to force their way out. It could very well be Kevin Durant again. So I'd rather that be the play. But they've kind of struck out. And if the plan is keep this unit as is, ride it out and improve throughout the season, it will fail. They are not good enough. They are not as good as they were last year.
Jimmy Butler said as recently a week ago, the quote was, we're going to win the championship. I don't care that we're 2-5. We're going to win the bleeping championship is what he said.
But isn't just waiting for a malcontent on another team not a great strategy for how to build your franchise? Because that seems like what it always is like, well, someone's going to be pissed and then maybe we'll get them.
Last night, I sent a text because there was a report is flimsy, but an NBA executive told The Athletic that it would take a special team to take Kyrie Irving and that Miami comes to mind. And there will be a desperation that sets in here at some point where they realize that what they have out there is not good enough. When you're losing home games and you're laboring like this at the start of the season, there's some stuff here that is obviously concerning, although Mike is being extreme when he says that he wants them to tank.
You're saying there's going to be a day soon where the Heat realize they don't have enough?
I'm saying that I sent this text of Kyrie Irving to a person in the Heat organization, and the response was, why is it that every damn name gets linked to us? And my response was, because you guys are super secretive, not a lot of people know a lot, and you often earn play for all of these guys. But the idea of Kyrie Irving, who might not play in the league again, according to an NBA executive, is stunning to hear this kind of desperation 11 games in. Mike talking about tanking, because, yes, I'd tank right now if I could get that guy.
Right, there's no guarantee in it. And, yes, I am being extreme, but that's how much I've soured on their – look, they had a plan this offseason. It didn't work out. They didn't get the whales. And instead, they went into a season with an older team, a team that I think kind of maximized last season, really, when you look at it. And everyone else got better, or at least made aggressive moves. And Miami just needs to do something. Something needs to be done to improve this roster if they're not going to go in the other direction and just full on tank.
It's still a 5 or 6 seed, tough out in the playoffs. Like, what are we doing here? Come on.
Is it?
I mean, obviously not where they are with this record, but they'll go on a streak. They missed Tyler yesterday. Jimmy's missed a couple games.
Yeah.
Like, when this team is healthy,
that's going to be happening a lot.
That's true
with those guys.
With Tyler,
with Jimmy.
With Jimmy. I mean, they're with Kyle.
But Mike, you have
not
to be
good.
Mike, you have to be worse than the Rockets to get that guy, and that's
No,
impossible even when you're trying to tank.
No, it's a lottery. You have to be I think bottom 5, bottom 6, have a legitimate shot at it. It can happen. What I'm saying is, what's
doing?
the plan?
Why are you tanking 11 games in?
What are you doing?
What's happening here?
Why are they tanking 11 games in? Why are you
they don't
angry
have
at me?
culture.
They've been
Right.
stinky.
Mm-hmm.
They've been stinky. They failed at getting the whales. They went in thinking that it would be good enough, and very clearly it's not.
The Eastern Conference Finals last year.
They could win some
One
games.
shot away.
Eastern Conference Finals with the same roster.
life
That was
over
last year.
here.
Everybody got better. The
Now when it
Bucks
gets
are
tough, I guess.
The Bucks are like 72-0 already.
I mean, the 6th
Get
seed
outta
is
here.
6-6. What are you doing?
What do
Yeah.
you think they're gonna beat the Bucks? Come on, man. What are we in it for?
What happened to you?
What's happening?
What happened to me is they didn't do anything.
We knew that 2 months ago.
What happened is they kept Kyle Lowry.
Oh, that's what happened.
He's been fine.
No.
He's been fine.
I hate to do
God.
this early, but we need to decide right now if we're in and out on the Heat. In or out?
Yeah.
Are you with the Heat or you not? Because we
Choose it
can't
right
have
now.
someone reappear in the Eastern Conference Finals if,
If
we're
the
out.
if this roster is the exact same thing, you'll all be out.
I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm
in.
in right
I mean,
now.
where else am I going to go?
You're in the play-in, is what you're in.
What
in.
kind
I'll take
of
it.
battle slogan is that? I'm in. Where else am I gonna go, Roy? Like that's not. That's
outs,
not. That
I
is
mean.
not.
I've been at Sunrise.
Those are
I've been
the
at Sunrise
soldiers
all
we
season.
need.
Been at Sunrise. You know who's getting the sound? The TV with the sound? Florida Panthers.
Goddamn right.
You know who hasn't gotten sound once this year?
Who's that, Mike?
The Miami Heat.
Wow.
They gotta earn the sound.
Earn it.
What are the Panthers? One game over 500? Come on.
Jeremy, I see your interviews on Twitter. and I put those with the sound on. Miami Heat got to earn the sound this year. I'm very disappointed with them.
You sound like a lunatic who changes his opinion every 11 games.
I've been consistent. Once the season started. But I was probably the most down on them in this room. I said, the Hawks got better. They're probably in that 5 range, and they're worse. I'm sorry. I got it wrong. They're barely playing at this moment.
Cleveland is better. Cleveland is formidable. Last night, I wanted to ask Chris Cote this because it made me think of it. Last night, Cleveland lost for the second time this season, and with 5 minutes left in the game. And what happened to the Heat last night was that fourth quarter, Portland was overwhelming offensively, and I understand why you'd be bummed that the Heat would lead by 10 with 5 minutes left and somehow cough up the game. But the thing I wanted to ask you, Cody, is the most recent lever of games early. Last night, when the Cavs and the Clippers were playing, it was 111-98 Cavs with 5 minutes left.
Goodbye.
You're leaving, right, Chris? That's $5, Greg Cote.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying here. I'm doing all I can.
How much time left?
5 minutes left, and it's 111-98.
5 minutes. You can make a run in basketball.
Chris, regular season game, 111-98, 5 minutes
I
to
think
go.
3 minutes left. I'm leaving because I could still beat traffic, but I'm giving that team the last 2 minutes to really bring it back. Yeah, couple threes. What's my dad doing?
He's complaining because I made him go into his wallet because he thinks he's just going to nod and never pay a fine.
Well,
he's never once gone into the fine.
Mobs are about to fly out of that thing.
What is that for $1?
And you owe $1.
Very solid
You owe
bet,
from
yeah.
last week.
6 total.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. You owe from last week as well for saying that you did not have money. So you
I didn't have money.
I know that's another $1 fine when you're fined and don't have money.
So 7 total, Greg.
Okay. Luckily, I make so much money doing this show that I still have such a great profit.
That's $5 more than the 2 you put in. It's $7.
What? People commit crimes and it costs them less than $7.
That's true.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
$7.
There you go.
Wow. That hurt.
All square.
I cannot tell you
Bob laughing.
how much I enjoy. It's one of my favorite things in sports. Whenever one of these owners has to come out and do a press conference and we get to all see at the same time, oh, this rich person who's rich because his family was rich and he's not actually smarter than everyone else. So Jim Irsay is going to try and convince us that just hiring Jeff Saturday because he's on television is the smart thing to do. Now, this is Jim Irsay caught with pills and cash in his car in a way that's unseemly. Jim Irsay, who recently was the only one to put his name on Daniel Snyder, get out of here.
It was such a brilliant masterstroke by the owners, by the way.
To send Irsay out there?
Because Snyder really thought he had them
so good.
with the "I'll dig up dirt on you," and then they just
it was so
rolled
good.
down.
They rolled out Irsay. Their secret
What you
weapon.
got on me?
now?
Right.
You think I have anything to lose?
Go for it.
And anytime they one of these press conferences, when one of these rich guys has to go and explain what he did, and you can hear all the arrogance and wonder, and I'm smarter than everybody, but you're not. He goes out there and tries to convince us that they're one of the best winners over the last 20 years, and it's not because of Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck. It's because they do something as an organization that isn't just we're going to win 10 games every year because we got Peyton Manning.
I mean, they drafted him.
Yeah,
they
I mean,
did.
real tough call.
Wasn't it Manning or there was someone
Ryan
else?
Leaf.
Ryan Leaf, right? Like that. Dan, at the time, that was a difficult decision. They chose wisely. I mean,
And what
give
is
him some credit. I mean, then he got Luck. I mean, give him some credit. Like he's run that organization pretty well. There are worse organizations in sports than the one that Jim Irsay is presiding over. I'm a fan of many of them.
they had quarterbacks the way Green Bay had quarterbacks. You're not going to convince me they ran their franchise well. Like, they had 25 years of great quarterbacks. And now he's going to go up there and tell me that, yeah, Jeff Saturday can coach my team. No experience. I'm plucking him off television because I like it.
Whoa, now. High school coach, experience at the high school level.
Right.
Damn
I
right.
think he went like 3-6.
I think he was working as a consultant for the Colts as well while working at ESPN.
He was, and
Yeah.
the Colts on their staff don't have anybody that's ever called plays in the NFL. So he didn't have a hugely, I don't know why I'm trying to make excuses. It's a flabbergasting hire.
It's one of the funniest things to ever happen inside of an NFL
say-
season, inside of leadership. And I would say as well, when it regards to Saturday, because a whole lot of people are already saying to me, why does Saturday get to cut the line? And they're predicting that I'm going to rail against black people not getting these jobs. First of all, black people always get this job. I would not want to wish this job on a black person. I have no issue with Jeff Saturday being the guy who's ambassador, and I will not have an issue with it unless he goes 6-0 and then gets a 5-year contract.
But if he goes 6-0 and gets a 5-year contract, then he's a miracle worker.
Exactly.
Like Dan Campbell was for the 3 games that you guys love Dan Campbell.
He didn't go 6-0.
No, but I'm saying you went in that sport, everyone's even. You can go out there and fart out a couple of victories. It's not going to be because Jeff Saturday did anything.
They have 8 games to go. I mean, he did give him an opportunity Saturday to have, if he goes 7-1, maybe he brings him back as head coach. Like, he gave him enough time to prove himself as a head coach. I love Jeff Saturday. I love the hire. I love those eyes. Like, those eyes, if they're staring at me and giving me a pregame speech, I believe him, and I'm running through a wall for that guy.
Great eyes.
Yeah, like Saturday.
He is reputed to be a very smart guy, one of the smarter players to play during his era. They don't really have a lot of options. I will say it's not a terrible spot because the Colts have been so much worse than they should be.
Right.
Like, if he changes a quarterback back, and we know Matt Ryan had his struggles this year, but there were at least a couple of games where he had solid performances. It seems as though the division's pretty much gone, but they'll have another game against Tennessee. It's not a terrible spot for Jeff Saturday.
I'm going to remind people, even though I can be an idiot about predictions, when I assessed last year the way the Colts were playing the second half of the season, I thought it would be very easy for them to be the Bengals. To get to the Super Bowl, they missed by inches. They missed because they had Carson Wentz and they went into Jacksonville late in the season and somehow shit the bed. But that team could have been the Bengals last year empirically. You put them next to each other statistically. You look at the Bengals, you look at the Colts, you weren't going to find a lot of differences. They were 3-3-1 with Matt Ryan. 3-3-1 in that division. You're crushing people. 3-3-1 is good enough. Like the same way that 4-5 is now good enough for the Bucs. And I don't know who made the decision on Ellinger. It must have been Frank Reich because the last 2 games is a dumping of the season by the Colts. You've just thrown your season away by not just putting in this quarterback, but saying on the moment we're going to save money. No Matt Ryan. Announcing then we're done. The Colts are not led well right now. You could like Jeff Saturday, Stugotz, because you would have liked anybody, evidently, because they just got anybody.
Right.
And Irsay said Ballard is coming back. Why? Like I know he's won executive of the year, but this whole plan, they found themselves in this situation because they keep going to the old veteran QB well. And it worked okay, I guess, with Phillip Rivers, even though they made the playoffs and they lost to Buffalo, and it was pretty clear to everybody Phillip Rivers was kind of done. Carson Wentz, they tried it a little younger. He was a disaster. Matt Ryan, they try it again, doesn't work out. Why does this GM just get a free pass?
Because outside of that, he's built a well above average roster, right? That's like outside.
I think so. Yeah.
Outside of you're right, those have been bad decisions, but outside of that, it's been pretty good.
I mean, the defense is still playing very hard, and they got Jonathan Taylor, Pittman. I think it's a pretty average roster that is taking advantage of one of the historically weaker divisions over this.
The offensive
stretch.
line, the offensive line hasn't been nearly what it was last year, which is why Jonathan Taylor is really struggling.
They spent a lot of money on that line, too.
I know.
Yes.
Jonathan Taylor's been hurt, and Frank Reich in a press conference when they made the move away from Matt Ryan said, we didn't hold up our end of the deal. We promised him you get to play behind this great offensive line, and the offensive line's been hit by injuries and just hasn't performed up to snuff.
Am I the only one who thinks they would be better and have a better chance to win had they not benched Matt Ryan? Because Sam Ellinger,
I agree with you.
Pretty clear.
Yes.
It's pretty clear now.
very
Or
clear.
Nick Foles, right?
But I would have liked to see Nick Foles.
Of course.
They
That
threw
was
away the season in the last 2 games, and it seems to be the centerpiece of why the coach is fired. It isn't like they had a plan. What was the plan?
Oh, I think they have a plan. I think it's Jeff Saturday, popular Colts guy, put him in there for 8 games, and then go hire Jim Harbaugh. I think that's the plan.
What I'm saying is 2 weeks ago when they benched Matt Ryan and didn't know what would happen because they didn't think they were dumping the season. that 2 days ago or 2 games ago, they didn't have a plan. This is evidence of we didn't have a plan. We did not plan on firing this guy 9 games in, because this is one of the strangest things you will ever see inside of a season.
They have a plan, Dan. It's Jim Irsay's leadership. May he remind you.
We're the 4th winningest franchise in the league since 2000. All right, that means in the upper quartile of winners, we're in the top quartile of that upper quartile. You want to bet against this guy? Put your money down, people. Love to see it. Love to see it.
Wow, quartiles. Nobody uses that word. Come on, Jim.
Stugotz wants to be on the side of the Colts because they've won, because they get the credit for winning, because they're smarter about
It's
winning.
in Jeff Saturday's eyes.
I mean, the quartile thing, you know? I mean, they're a good organization, Dan. They've done a lot of winning. They've only won 1 Super Bowl, but, you know, I would take the last 25 years of the Indianapolis Colts as a sports fan. It's been good.
That's not a debate, but I think what Dan is saying has merit. Look, they were bad. They got one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen, and they had the tremendous luck. You've seen organizations like the Browns be bad year after year, try to get all those lottery chips, fail at the quarterback position. The 1 year Peyton Manning was hurt and unavailable to them, they were dreadful enough to get the number 1 pick, and they lucked into, no pun intended, the greatest quarterback of that class and one of the greatest QB prospects to ever enter the
Stugotz,
NFL.
I'd go another step on this. You're sitting here after a legitimately clown car day for the Colts and a clown car month for the Colts. You're giving them credit for stuff, for winning, understandably. And if Andrew Luck hadn't retired, you'd think they're the best run franchise in sports, and they're not. They just had 2 really good quarterbacks. Like, if Andrew Luck had stayed there, they would have been winning 10 games every year, and they'd be at the top of the standings right now. And Andrew Luck crippled the organization when he retired.
But luck is a part of it, Dan. You can say the same thing about the Spurs, who had Robinson. He was out for a year. They got Tim Duncan. I mean, you could say the same exact thing about Greg Popovich, but we don't.
I can't say the same thing about Greg Popovich because he did it with different players as the centerpiece of what it is that they were doing. You're the one who comes out every year and says, this is the greatest coaching job I've ever seen on Greg Popovich. Greg Popovich started and got lucky with Twin Towers and then made a career off it, as all of these guys have to have success at the star positions. But do you realize that if Andrew Luck was still the quarterback of the Colts, you would not realize that this person is a clown show as the owner of the Colts? It's not that it's a well-run organization. It's that they got 2 guys at quarterback that'll give you 10 wins every year. So guys, let me ask you this. Deadspin yesterday came out with, just said it flatly, Aaron Rodgers is washed. Let's get that out there since no one wants to say it. Does it happen that fast at that position? Historically, it has. He's a 2-time MVP, reigning 2-time MVP. That organization has been good for 25 years, and I was telling you, McCarthy's not all that. He's just next to a guy. Like, if you're just next to those quarterbacks,
you're going to be good. Yeah.
Your organization is going to be good for a decade. It's why everyone's so excited right now about Tua in Miami. It's not just, man, they could lose the rest of their games. They could have lost to Chicago on Sunday. What I'm excited about is, they hit there. They hit there. He's accurate. All the numbers are crazy. Passer rating, number 1. QBR, number 1. The length of ball per attempt, number 1. TD percentage, number 1. Expected points added per play, number 1. Net yards per play, number 3. Completion percentage, number 4. Interception percentage, number 4. The enthusiasm isn't about, the last 2 games they put up 30 plus. The enthusiasm is, it's going to be this for 5 years.
But isn't also that a tribute to organization, which is what we've been talking about? Because the Dolphins had Brian Flores, Chan Gailey, George Godsey, Eric Stootsville running their offense for the last 2 years, and Tua was dreadful. So organizations absolutely matter. And the Colts, despite Jim Irsay's clown show yesterday, Chris Ballard is a well-thought-of executive, even beyond winning executive of the year. He has a reputation as one of the very best general managers in the NFL. Organizationally, they have been strong. And even after losing Andrew Luck, they made the playoffs one season. They're always competitive at the top of the AFC South. the Dolphins are a tribute to organization. I don't think without adding Tyreek Hill and adding Mike McDaniel as head coach that Tua would look like this. I just don't.
I think Woody is right. This is what Dolphin fans are excited about. Dan, you're right. They are excited about Tua, but it's an organizational thing where they have Mike McDaniel, they have Chris Greer. They appear to do the right things all the time. They go all in on Tyreek Hill. They draft Jalen Waddle. Tua's turned out to be great. And the coach looks like he's a genius. Like this, like if you're a Dolphin fan, you're excited about all of it, not just Tua.
I think that people would have been upset with Tua if they would have lost to Chicago. People would not have been happy with Tua and any of those stats. They would have turned to the ball that he bounced at the end. They would have turned to the underthrow to Waddle. Yep. Like if they would have called pass interference and the Bears would have gone up the field and they would have ended up tying or winning that game, Tua would have been murdered.
Fair enough, and that's how the analysis goes. What I'm telling you is right now, they could lose the next 7 games because they get a bunch of people hurt, and my opinion is not going to change that they're in safe hands. My opinion is not going to change that when the ball goes to
yours wouldn't, but everyone else's would.
If Tua loses 7 straight, the questions are
I'm
all
saying
back.
if they lose 7 straight because they get a bunch of injuries, a random ball happens in the league, or they lose because they could have lost the last 2 easily. They could have lost the last 2. They're on the road, and that weird shit happens in that sport. What I'm telling you is that they have hope because organizationally they do have that stability. I don't associate that with the Colts as yesterday's clown show has Ballard going out there and saying, you guys are shitting on me because I can't get any wide receivers, but look at how underperforming my offensive line is. And I'm just looking at that. It's like, you don't do that. You don't get up there when those guys are physically killing themselves and you talk as you sit from that perch of I'm smarter than everybody and say publicly, while you're sitting there trying to convince me of Jeff Saturday that the guys who are responsible for this are them, not me. Them. It's them. We know what we're doing. Let's have a press conference up here where we tell you Jeff Saturday's evidence of we know what we're doing.
I understand that Chris Ballard has this reputation, and it was largely built in Kansas City. I had argued that John Dorsey would take a lot of the credit for the selections of Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, but Ballard came over from Kansas City. And you can't convince me that he's a very good GM because he had a 2018 draft that was solid with Quentin Nelson and Shaq Leonard when he has botched the biggest assignments. Get quarterback. He even botched getting a head coach. McDaniels bailed on him. He missed on Philip Rivers.
Is that a bad thing?
Not
was
closing a head
guy.
coach. Not closing a head coach is a pretty big deal. He's year over year miss on the quarterback position. I don't trust that organization. The organization that gave up draft capital for Trent Richardson, like they've gotten lucky at the quarterback position. Yeah, they've had some solid years, and they built a decent team that was a quarterback away. It's a pretty big piece to be missing.
When I hear people praising Dolphins management right now, I think back to 2 seasons where the Dolphins went hard after Deshaun Watson and came this close to getting him, and then they went back channels to try to get Tom Brady in a skullduggery that cost them a first-round draft pick. They had zero faith in Tua. Only when they couldn't get Deshaun Watson and Brady did they finally say, okay, we're stuck with Tua. We're going to go get him Tyreek Hill. We're going to go get him Teron Armstead.
Yep.
And when all that happened because they had no choice, then all of a sudden Tua is pretty damn great, and management is going, that's our guy. That's our guy. Bullshit.
But that's not even management. That's McDaniel, right? Like McDaniel's the one that figured out how to use him.
McDaniel's the only one who
get
believes.
the pieces. Yeah.
Yes.
I cannot allow for us to just skip past Greg Cote not only using skullduggery, but with point of maximum emphasis, yelled bullshit while raising a right arm in the air. Why was your right arm thrown up in the air to sit?
This is sermonized bullshit.
Bullshit.
Thank you.
You sang it. You fairly sang it.
It was an innate reaction. I'd have to look at the film. I got to look at the tape.
But what is bullshit? Like, give us from the most passionate place that makes you raise your arm as Homer, as the author of 50 Years of Greatness in Dolphins
Fins
football.
at 50, yeah.
Fins at 50.
Yeah.
What makes you run? Like, what is it? What are you yelling at America? Are you yelling because they are not properly respecting how great everything Dolphins is?
Well, I'm yelling at people who are now giving management, the owner and the GM, all this credit for being all in on Tua when for 2 years the Dolphins did nothing but disrespect Tua Tagovailoa publicly and hang him out to dry.
Put it on the poll, please, Guillermo, at LeBatardShow. is the standings, Exhibit A, and Brian Flores losing his lawsuit.
You got to give it a little flourish.
I like the pause in between bull and shit that you gave.
thank
Bullshit.
you.
He fairly sang it.
Wow.
That was a good point, though. Like, no one believed in the guy that drafted
Nobody.
him. All right.
They spent 2 years disrespecting him publicly, shaming him, trying to get rid of him, trying to move on from him. All he needed was the right people around him. That's all he ever needed.
All he needed was a wide receiver who's going to set the record for receiving yards in a season.
That's correct. And when people say Aaron Rodgers is washed, you take Devontae Adams away from any quarterback, he's going to feel it. You see the effect.
Well, he hasn't helped Derek Carr, though. I mean, Devontae.
Well, he had a pretty good game. I think he had 2 touchdown catches in the last game.
You're right.
I mean, he's been pretty damn good, and he'd be better with a better quarterback. You know, you don't trade Devontae Adams and not realize the effect it's going to have in Aaron Rodgers. And I don't care what his stats are. Patrick Mahomes is not as good without Tyreek Hill. He barely beat Tennessee the other night.
I like that take. I don't care what his stats are.
Keep it going. Just whatever thoughts you have on the NFL, just let them flow, man. This is great.
And I know his stats are good. To some people, he's still the MVP, but he's not the same without Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Not close.
Who's your MVP?
Tyreek Hill.
I might have said Josh Allen before the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
He's really gone south. And it could be Tyreek Hill right now. Tyreek Hill is a lock for the Offensive Player of the Year in the AFC, I think. But
Got to throw Geno Smith in there, right?
Geno Smith would be a strong candidate.
Others receiving votes, probably.
But
yeah.
you know what's interesting about, I think I put this in my show topics. I think you can now talk about the Dolphins in the context of being a Super Bowl contender and not come off like you're a lunatic. Especially now. You see Kansas City's a little bit vulnerable.
Josh Allen's hurt.
You see Josh Allen hurt and Buffalo a little bit vulnerable. Baltimore is coming on strong. To me, Baltimore might be the best team in the AFC right now, but I would not discount the Dolphins.
How about Jalen Hurts in that MVP discussion?
Oh, for sure, especially as long as they stay not only unbeaten but on top. I'm not sure they're better than Dallas, but we'll see about that.
But he deserves to be in that discussion.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Anyone else in the NFC? Or
Trying to think.
Kirk Cousins, maybe?
Geno's the big surprise.
I actually have the odds in front of me.
What are they?
Favorite, courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook, Mahomes 2-1.
Oh, please.
Yeah, he's not getting it.
Jalen Hurts plus 250.
Deserves it.
Josh Allen plus 350.
Not getting it.
Fourth favorite for NFL MVP at 8-1. Tua Tagovailoa.
How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to get votes.
Right.
Him and Tyreek Hill are going to cannibalize each other, though. Split the
It
vote.
could, yeah.
Should be Tyreek.
It could be.
Tyreek is 80-1.
But what do you do with
whenever
those?
he-
What do you do with the 3 games without Tua? They lose. They lost.
Tyreek played really
Tyreek
well.
played in those-
Tyreek played really well in two
But
of
not
the
and
well
they
enough.
lost.
Yeah, but they lost.
Without Tua,
Right.
I mean,
they lost.
When Tua
Teddy
starts,
Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson.
But we're talking about value.
Yeah. What's
When
the most,
Tua, starts and finishes, they never lose.
what's the most
they're
valuable
12
stat?
and 2.
Right.
They've won 12 of their last 14 games he started.
All right, I'll use your argument against you. What was Tua before Tyreek Hill got here?
That's last season.
I
That's
think
a yearly award.
9-2. I think 9-2 is a starter.
Yeah.
But was he good? Or
Doesn't
were we
matter.
doing the show every week? Is he good?
Well, you guys never saw
Tyreek
it.
Hill makes anybody better.
Non-believer.
If Tyreek Hill was in Indianapolis, Matt Ryan would still be starting and would have none of this conversation about Jim Irsay being
Or
a
Sam
clown.
Ellinger would be great.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
MVP.
We're
He's
taking
the
credit away.
best-
Now we're taking credit away from Tua. We can't win with this argument.
I'm giving. I love Tua like a son, but I'm just railing against the fact that it's clearly a quarterback award. I don't.
Right.
Like Tyreek Hill has been the better player. He's been available every week. He is setting records. He may have the greatest wide receiver season we've ever seen. What more does he have to do?
well, he's the OPOY. There's no doubt about that.
It's kind of weird.
the OPOY.
What is the difference between OPOY and MVP? Because Tyreek Hill is
Offensive player of the year, most valuable player.
Yeah, a couple letters.
Yeah. Well, you asked, I
Different
answered.
awards.
I mean,
yeah.
in practical terms, because Tyreek Hill is indeed the favorite to be Offensive Player of the Year at plus 330, but he's 80-1 to an MVP.
Right. Receivers don't win MVPs.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
But why not?
Why don't shortstops win the Cy Young? Who
Yeah,
knows?
why not is a valid question.
But what do
it's
you
just
do?
the way it is.
But
Has
what
a
do you-
receiver ever won an MVP?
Yeah, but what do you do when I
Not
say
that I
to
can
you,
think
like,
of.
what you have no argument for when Tua was out with Tyreek Hill, they lost to a couple bad teams. Like,
Correct.
In terms of value, I'm not saying Tua's better at his position than Tyreek. Tyreek is like the best receiver in football. But if we're having this value conversation, the Dolphins are worse without Tua.
When they lost
No
to
doubt.
Minnesota, Tyreek Hill had 177 yards with Teddy Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson as the quarterbacks in that game. Like he has been good in every game, independent of quarterback.
He apparently wasn't that valuable that game, though.
I really don't want to do the sports show of the semantics of value, but OPOY, is that something that people celebrate often? And is that a
course.
distinction
Yeah.
that people are making between OPOY and MVP? Who were last year's and the last 5 years OPOYs according to you guys?
Last year's OPOY was
okay.
Aaron Rodgers. Yeah.
So they're the same. They're often MVP and OPOY are the same.
Occasionally they're the same.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just one of the rules of awards. You know,
Stugotz
like-
completely made that up. Aaron Rodgers was not last
No.
year's OPOY.
It's a good guess.
It was Cooper Cup.
Ah,
Okay,
Cooper
yeah,
Kupp,
it's
yeah.
generally a
It's close.
non-quarterback. It's
Yeah,
generally a non-quarterback.
it's like skill position player of the year.
All right, so this is really what we're doing now, where it's MVP, okay, the quarterback award, and then OPOY is you can be a receiver.
Well, it's
or
not us. The NFL determines.
Yeah, they do
awards.
it.
Yeah.
The
The
MVP
Associated
is
Press.
the quarterback. The
I-
depoy is never the MVP.
It's mostly quarterbacks, occasionally a running back, and once in a while a kicker.
Right.
People say OPOY.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
of course.
Yeah,
Who doesn't?
depoy,
Yeah.
opoy, Roy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say all that.
Look,
Rookie of the
2018,
year.
Patrick Mahomes won it. So there
Yeah.
you go.
Because you're in a big hurry. OPOY because you don't want to say offensive
Yeah,
player of the
right.
year, rookie
It's
of
a
the
bit
year.
wordy, wouldn't you,
Roy,
Roy. Opoy, depoy.
I don't think anyone uses OPOY.
There's actually 3 OPOYs.
We
if
love
you
an
must
acronym.
know. Yeah, there's the AP OPOY, there's the Pro Football Writers of America OPOY, and then there's the Sporting News OPOY. So there's 3 OPOYs. every
Which
year.
OPOY would you most want to win?
Well, you could do the clean sweep, which happens occasionally. That happened in 2018, last time Mahomes did it. Then 2019, Lamar Jackson won 2 legs of the OPOY, but Michael Thomas won the third, so it didn't work out. And then
Triple
Derrick
crown.
Henry. Oh, wow. Actually, you know what? 2021, Cooper Kupp, 2/3 also, but then Jonathan Taylor snuck in there and got the Sporting News OPOY. And then in 2020, Derrick Henry had 2/3 of the OPOY, but Patrick Mahomes took the Sporting News. It seems like the Sporting News likes to zig.
Real
where others
wild
zag.
card,
Yeah.
the Sporting
Yeah.
News.
Yeah. No, listen, the opoy of record is the Associated Press Award,
Yeah,
which is the official NFL award.
When you Google Offensive Player of the Year NFL, the first result is the wiki page for the AP Offensive Player of the Year. So I think that's definitely the gold standard.
Yeah, and the AP needs that because the AP Top 25 College Football poll has been usurped by the CFP.
Disrespectful.
So the AP still is hanging on to that being the the cruise
That's all
ship
they got
Hey,
left.
leading the
Yeah.
NFL.
The AP had Georgia #1. Just saying.
That's right.
Right.
They, they understood the assignment.
Right on.
Let's talk about. You're in my wheelhouse now, and I feel like you're in the Whittingham wheelhouse as well. The Associated Press and what it used to mean in this country back when Army was Army and Navy was Navy.
Used to mean everything.
And we play one
Goddamn
game.
right.
Thank you for your service.
Yes.
The Associated Press was
We
leading
aspired
us
to
with
objectivity back then.
Truth
The
updates
AP.
from war. The Associated Press is OG.
We didn't determine a national champion on the field. We waited until Monday morning to figure out who the AP voted as the
That's
champion.
right.
right.
We called those writers on a landline and
Who
we
lost
asked
early?
them,
I
what's the
remember
game
that.
you saw and tell us who you were impressed by.
I remember that. There were bowl games at the end of the year, and it was just like, well, we'll see.
But yeah, right. And like, and
If
one
this team wins and that team loses, maybe.
I was watching
Right.
it at like an Orange Bowl with Miami, and they're like, all right, well, we'll see in a couple of days how that works out.
And the craziest part is that one didn't play 2. It was just like whatever matchup was in the Orange Bowl, 1 plays 7, 2 plays 5, and then we got to wait until Monday to
There
see
were only
which win
certain
was
teams
more
and
important.
conferences that could play in certain bowls at
Right,
that time.
Right.
Yes.
What do you do?
Right.
Is 5 beating 1 better than 3 beating 2? It's all going to be decided by some old guy in Oklahoma who's never seen a game all year.
To be a member of a bowl committee in the 1990s,
to be wined and dined.
People wonder
It's
how
still
it
a
is
great
that-
job.
People wonder how the media got fat and arrogant. I'll tell you how. The game's been played, and you got to call me on a landline to find out the next day whether your team's number one or not.
I'm old enough to remember some dude showing up in a blazer with a bowl game patch, and they all had a whiskey nose.
Oh, yeah.
And they would just gallivant across the nation.
Damn right.
They're the most
Yes.
important people in the world.
Fully expense trips.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
Ed Williamson,
Yes.
Arthur Hertz.
Art Hurts
Yes,
owning that
yes,
press box in his
they-
orange jacket. Yeah.
This is the heyday of college sports, my friends. Back when the Associated Press wasn't elbowing the sporting news to try and stay relevant with OPOY, I want to talk for a second about how little in the game the Associated Press still has as we cling to media checks and balances and need today, election day, need you to vote because much like Twitter and the Dolphins' offense and freedom, enjoy it while you can. You got it right now. The Associated Press has protected our journalistic principles. They still have credibility, do they not? If I go around and I ask even the most ardent of fake newsers in the Trump camp, the Associated Press, you'll give it up for them, right? That's not fake news. They still do it the old school way. They don't want to fight you. They
Fake
just
news.
want to give you the facts.
I don't think they would,
fake-
Dan.
fake
I don't
news.
think they concede.
It's all fake news.
Not even the Associated
No,
Press.
no,
The
especially
tiny
them.
No,
Associated
it's just,
Press.
it's just what you
The
want
more
to hear.
credible you are, the less credible you are. I mean,
Put it on the poll, Guillermo, at LeBatard Show. In the media today, is the more credible you are, the less credible you are.
It's just tell me what I want to hear. If it's even the slightest hint of a negative news story about my team, which could be my political party or my sports team, then I don't want it. It's fake. It's the other side. It's corrupted by corporate media. It's propaganda for the opposition.
AP, though, the
Yes.
AP is not controversial. The AP is wartime facts sent by dispatch.
Yep.
They're still holding on to that.
you're
Damn
taking this
right.
hard, man.
But it's just the AP. Like, can we leave the AP alone?
Yes. The
Leave
AP
them
is
out of this.
a big, giant gray building. That's what the AP
Just
is.
leave them out of this. They're just trying to cling to the facts, man. The rest of us are contaminated and corrupt and for-profit and liberal. But the AP is trying to do it right, man.
You hop on your business class plane, you put on your Micron PC Bowl blazer, you fly over to East Carolina.
That's reporting.
You got pores like potholes in your nose, and you get treated to the prime rib spread, and you're off to the next one
Yeah.
to watch SMU. Oh, God, what a
The
life.
Mustangs. I mean,
What a life.
That was
got
my
so many Delta miles.
That was my favorite thing about being in a college football press box is there was always 2 or 3 representatives from just a random bowl game that are just there to watch the game,
Loud jackets.
like scouting.
But they're to be seen, right? They're
for
to
the
be seen
Cheez-It
in
Bowl.
loud green jackets, yellow jackets, jackets no one would wear.
Correct,
Yes, right.
right. With
Hi, Jack Sullinger, famous Idaho potato bowl. Big meaty handshake with just ham hocks for hands. Oh, with a drink that's making noise because of all the ice cubes in it. Oh, I love it.
And it's the CEO for Nature Bee.
Mike Buck.
Jeff Cook.
They're wearing loud powder blue jackets. Can you imagine? I want you to understand that players have
Tommy Harris, Culligan Holiday Bowl. Nice to meet you.
I want the audience to understand that players were not paid, and what was being protected and remains protected and giving you a playoff and made for television was these 12 dudes with their arms locked protecting the buffet in their
They all
big
have
jackets.
a snifter. It's a snifter in their hand. They got it in their left hand. Cooper Johnson, GalleryFurniture.com Bowl. Nice to meet you.
Do people realize though that those guys, those 80 guys for these
They make like $800,000 a
Yes,
year.
yes.
It's the best gig on the planet.
And they don't have a single expense that's not covered. Everything is covered. Just $800,000 because they made the right friends along the way, and they have whiskey noses.
Billy.
All of them. They all look like Brian Dennehy. Just barrel-chested whiskey
perfect.
noses.
Yes, that's perfect.
And with the strongest goddamn handshake you'd ever have in your entire life.
The thickness is right. He's got the right body type. They're beefy steakhouse guys.
Yeah.
They're all Don Nelson.
They're yes, they go from city to city partying and on expense accounts. But Billy, can you look up for me? I think it's the Fiesta Bowl. There was one of these guys who got in trouble because he was just strip clubs galore, and he got carried away and ended up in some real problems. But that was protecting all of the injustice in college sports. And they fight you tooth and nail. They won't die easily. The bowls are still going to be there. They're going to be, they're little profit centers where you come in and a CEO comes in, and for some Tostitos, you get to run the city for a couple of days in your lounge jacket.
Gallagher, guaranteed rate bowl. You guys look good.
You made them all Willie Teal.
They're thick men, right? They're the weight.
Boys are looking good.
The weight classes.
We got a decision to make.
You know, we've been looking at Boise State too.
Just the sound of a glass moving,
Yes.
sloshing around,
Ice cubes clinking.
spillage over the snifter.
They
The best
run-
part is that these people used to determine the champion.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is
They used
correct.
to determine the champion. Now it's just what's going to fill programming on ESPN at 4 p.m. on December 28th. But it used to be they determined the champion of the sport.
And they wear the loudest jackets because they want everybody to see them. Oh, you know when people reference a good old boy network? The good old boy network is bowl committees. And I got to be honest, I don't want them to go away.
Oh.
It harkens back to a time.
I thought
I
you were going to
agree.
say, I got to be honest, I want in.
Oh, please make me a part of your bowl committee.
Please.
Please. It is the dream. It is, I want to just live in a cigar smoke-filled room.
Selecting teams.
Making
power.
not
Bowl
remember
matchups.
anybody's name ever.
Matching up Northwestern against
Yeah.
Florida on December 30th.
Tell everybody it's good to see you again. Just guess that I'm seeing them again. Oh, to be a bowl committee member.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Do you long for the days of that injustice? Because I do. They were those jackets got tighter each year because of how fat they were getting off the greed and the profit and the party.
Larry Wasser, Wasabi Fenway Bowl.
In a loud red jacket nobody would wear. They'd march into the press conference. We're here to see your team. This matters. Wait a minute. You're just a dude
What
who's
do
got
they
a
have to
jacket.
add? What do they have to add?
A jacket is everything, though.
How do you get to have all the
yeah.
power in this press box? Because you're wandering around with a louder jacket than everyone else.
Do they actually convene? Was there a overhead projector where they're like, well, you know, I think this is a really good clash of
not
styles.
in person. Landlines. They would call from their board of trustees. They were always in charge of something. Sales. They're city power brokers. Look at Cody just smiling here. I feel like we're going back to the ancient ages of the Associated Press would call 25 writers, 50 writers, or 80 writers before computers and ask them, hey, Georgia Tech and Colorado kind of finished this season tied. You decide.
Yeah, we had a really good time down at Texas Christian, though. So, you know, lots to consider. Have you ever been to one of those dinners? I went to the Orange Bowl one when Miami played Wisconsin, and I walked away with 5 investments. I made 5 investments. These are power broking rooms, and it's just one big cocktail party.
This conversation really brings back memories because back when I covered college football full time, I remember once it got to be like mid-season in a press box, you'd look over your shoulder and you would see the goldenrod Fiesta Bowl jacket walking around, and you thought to yourself, wow, this is a big game. Like something is happening with this matchup.
There's a guy from the Fiesta Bowl here. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
People would tap each other on the shoulders and be like,
Right.
Tostitos Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah.
Bring your A game to the
And you'd write it in the game story. You know, Orange Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, and Cotton Bowl were represented at the game.
Don't look at them. You'll embarrass yourself. But right over my left shoulder is Nokia's Sugar Bowl.
Yeah.
They're royalty.
Yeah.
Sugar Bowl.
Wearing $69 jackets. They're not even expensive or good jackets. They're jackets you would not buy at Austin Burke.
And the opposite was true. When the Poulin Weed Eater Bowl walked into the room. You're like, what has my career
Major
become?
disappointment.
What kind of a game
Well, they
am I
weren't the
at?
big jackets. We got to be honest, right? Because
The
it was
oversized
burgundy.
jackets.
It's the Rose Bowl, the burgundy ones, the orange ones, the orange
Yeah,
ones.
people were proud.
Yeah.
The Fiesta Bowl got in that game with Tostitos, though. They bought the yellow jackets and they got in the game. Who else was it, though? I don't remember any other colors. What were the loudest colors that were coming into? Who was green? Wasn't there a green in there? I think the Orange Bowl sometimes also did green. I think they dominated two colors when they were at the height of being the Orange Bowl.
We were
committee.
never. What happened in 01 when the Rose Bowl committee came around? Because I imagine those have to be just like
burgundy,
Victorian
burgundy.
era. They all look like the vampire Lestat.
long flowing burgundy robes. Just bloated, smelling like meat from the local steakhouse.
I bow at the altar of bowl committees.
Yeah.
Keep them around as long as possible and do away with conference tie-ins. I don't like the predictability of it. In the You documentary, there's a time where Howard Schnellenberger and his team is like gathered around a closed circuit television to find out, we thought we made a good impression on the Peach Bowl, folks. Hopefully we can make it to the Peach Bowl. And then they get like the status. Not only was your team good enough, but your hospitality really shined.
What was the Sugar Bowl? I can't remember the Sugar Bowl's colors because those were the four big ones.
I don't remember.
Still
either.
are, probably.
And
Wasn't
the
Sugar
Cotton-
Bowl yellow?
Oh, you guys
Cotton
had some
Bowl.
good times at the Sugar Bowl committee open bar. Where they put you at? A Radisson?
The Fiesta.
Radisson.
They'd usually
That's
be
where
Marriott's.
that's where we were talking yesterday to somebody that was regaling us with tales at the Sun Bowl in
Yeah.
El Paso.
Oh, yeah.
And like the big hotel there is the Radisson connected to the airport, an airport that doesn't feature a runway long enough for everybody to use a big plane.
Yeah, and on Friday night there would be a media hospitality party at the team hotel. And they were plying, the booze was flowing, and Art Hertz is walking around preening.
There's a chocolate fudge fountain, and everyone's gathering around it.
Yeah, shrimp.
Greg Cote of the Miami Herald has a weekly podcast, The Greg Cote Show, featuring Greg Cote.
With Greg Cote.
Fine.
Thank you, though.
Jimmy Johnson is a guest on this week's episode, and I need to know, Chris, why your father is saying you're running scared from a bet.
This is a ridiculous bet. So he's been saying for like 2 years now he's going to get Tony Kornheiser on, and I've been telling him that Tony Kornheiser doesn't do anything. You have I think, a better relationship than my dad does with him, and I think has he ever even been on this show? Maybe once.
A couple of times, yeah.
And so he's really tough to get, and I just was telling my dad, we're not going to get him. So we made a bet, and we didn't even have the terms, and finally this week we came up with terms, and my dad's terms are ridiculous. I'm like, that great toenail that
The
he
black
has?
toenail that's going to be at Moss.
It's going to be at
featured
Moss.
Right.
Yes, it's going to be like on a pedestal at Moss for people to come look at.
Again, MossLeBatard.com is where you go.
Yeah.
We're going to have VIP tickets up shortly. You're going to want to get in here because this is going to sell out December 10th. And one of the featured items is going to be the black great toenail of Greg Cote. Will bring people from all over the land.
And
We actually have an ongoing contest, by the way. If you want to participate, you can submit looks like to us, and you could win tickets to Moss. We're not including your flights or airfare. You got to kind of handle that yourself. But you could win tickets to Moss, and you could go the day before to this Top Golf thing that they're having at Lone Depot Park with us. We're going to have a couple bays. A couple winners are going to be selected. So send us looks like. We're going to be selecting the winner soon, and we'll let you know next week. You'll get tickets to that and tickets to Moss.
How can people submit their looks like entries into us?
Go to Twitter at LeBatardShow, #looks-like, and whatever you send will just count as a submission.
so apparently our producer for the Greg Cote Show, Yeti Blanc, found some article or something like someone he knew had one time deep fried a nail. And apparently when you deep fry a nail, it turns into a pork rind?
Pork rind?
Yeah,
rind?
a human toenail.
So like it has if you fry a nail, it gets that texture.
Oh, no.
becomes
That's
edible.
impossible.
And so my
Becomes
dad
edible.
disgusting.
and my dad wanted the bet to be
This
if we
is
get Kornheiser,
disgusting.
I have to eat the nail, and if we don't, my dad has to do it, and I'm not doing that.
Good
I-
dad.
It's an indeterminate amount of time for Greg.
well, no,
Right?
we
No,
would
it's
come
by
up
the
with
end
a
of the
time.
year.
No,
He's
well,
on the clock.
I told him I'd give him till like
The end
February.
of the year?
Yeah.
So, like at midnight, can we, instead of dropping a ball, can we drop your toenail into like frying
Into deep oil.
deep frying
Yeah,
oil?
yeah.
I'm not doing that though.
It's only a month.
If I lose a bet, I'm going to man up and do that. Put a little salt on it, like you would anything coming right out of fried fat. It crunches. It eats
Oh,
like
God.
a
I'm
pork
really
rind.
disgusted.
I am too.
can't
That's
believe
why
you guys are discussing this way.
I'm not doing
It's
it.
edible.
I'm not doing it.
You should not.
I told my dad, hey, how about this? The loser sleeps outside for a night. That's terrible. That's something I wouldn't want to do.
That's a camping trip in the Boy
Yeah,
Scouts.
exactly.
That happens
That's
to
what
your
I
da-
said.
That happens to your dad at least
That's what
3 times a month.
That's what a 9-year-old does to be spooky and scary.
Have you agreed to the bet?
No.
In any way, shape, or form?
Yes,
Yes,
we
we've
ran
agreed.
from it.
No, we've agreed to what I said. If I lose, I'm going to sleep outside. If he loses, he's going to eat the nail.
Okay.
What do you mean that's not a punishment? Sleep outside tonight, Billy.
I need to stop
All right,
for a second.
Billy just said he'll sleep outside tonight.
But in comparison to the steaks,
You're acting like that's nothing. That's something that you wouldn't want to do.
but your dad's steaks, like his payoff is a lot worse than yours.
I didn't come up with that idea. That's a ridiculous thing that I am never going to do. I said he could pay me a lot more. Like if he wants to throw a little dollar sign at the, maybe I'll
I
eat
have
that toenail.
questions. Really? There's an amount of money I could pay you to eat that toenail?
I mean, I'm
always a
saying
price,
I'm
Dan.
more likely
Yeah.
to
I
do
offered.
it.
I offered.
$50.
a
You
bonus.
offered me $100.
Well, that's not
I'll
nothing.
throw in. I will pay you something legitimate to eat it at the end of Moss.
There you go.
Why do you do these things to yourself?
I'm not doing it. My dad will do it. My
Hey,
dad just said he'll do
You
it.
How
just
much
attach
money?
a price tag, though.
How
How
much
much money?
money?
Let's discuss this. Like, seriously.
I like this game.
I'm
actually.
gonna-
1,000? I mean, what do you think?
I'm going to circle back around on this, and we will get a price on this. I just need to ask some follow-up questions. First of all, what did you think the word for pork rind was?
Pork roin.
That's loin.
Understandable.
And I just need to stop because I don't think you guys realize how disgusting this is. So this is a black toenail that is rotted on the foot, on the vulture foot of a 65-year-old Greg Cote. He doesn't moisturize his feet. It's rotted. This is a rotted nail that from disease went from yellow to green to black. Okay, that's our starting point. Yeah.
Charred.
On what you guys are talking about.
Fell off
Dipping in
naturally.
an oil to soften it with salt and then eating it. It is a potato chip sized thing that you could see at Moss. December 10th, Moss LeBatard. It will be in a case, and at the end, perhaps we will have somebody eat it.
Can you have it with bread, like as a sandwich?
That's a good
This is
It's
you can
too
have
small.
it
Like one of
however
those
you want.
Hawaiian
It's
rolls will make
awful.
anything taste good.
No, it's too small.
I might do it with a Hawaiian roll if someone paid me.
That's how I'm going to
I
do the
mean,
toilet paper. Single ply between 2 pieces of Hawaiian roll.
Why aren't you doing the toilet paper a day that we are on television so people can see it?
We're on television every day. Go to our YouTube page where there's visuals all the time.
A day that we're live, I mean.
What does that have to do with anything?
So what's the price that you would eat this for? Not to bring it back.
I would prefer not to. The price is going to be way too high.
What is it? Well, you're going to donate it to charity, so it's all for a good cause.
I mean, if the money's flowing, I went in on this. You know, if you're offering him $1,000 to eat a toenail, I think I'm.
All right, my dad will do it for $1,000. Sold.
I'm the owner of the nail in Artifact.
That is true.
You have to do it for less though than Chris.
Why?
right?
I
Well,
also
mean,
enjoy my favorite part of all of this conversation is your future lack of hygiene is what's at stake here. That it's like it's not that I'm just going to clip my toenails every 2 weeks. I'm going to intentionally allow my toes to get gross so we can have this payoff for a bet.
Yeah, my right great toe right now, the nail, part of the nail chipped off, and part of the nail did not chip off, so it's now misshapen.
Can we stop
it's almost
talking
like
about
a
this?
talon.
I'd like to. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate
Just clip
I-
your
I-
toenails, man.
I'm about to
triangle.
It's
Yeah.
a very unpleasant toenail. We can just leave it at that. Chris Cote, I have heard that Juju's new music is out, and a lot of people are raving about it. Do we have any access to this music? How can we share Juju's latest releases? I guess he's working on it throughout the pandemic, and so I'd like people to be able to contribute to what it is that Juju's doing if they like it.
I think we should make people go download and listen to it. Not even give them that free taste because then they might not download it. We want
Little
Juju.
teaser, though? I
We want
mean-
Juju to feel the love here because Juju is so humble. Like he's probably uncomfortable with this right here. He doesn't want like us. Like so, everyone needs to. If you support Juju, you support our show. Go out, download his music. He hasn't released music in a while. Check it out. It's fire.
Juju, why are you laughing at him, Billy? Just check it out. It's fire, said stiffly with a freckled elbow thrust at us. Check it out. Check it
Frelbo.
out. It's fire.
It is.
I'm not disputing that it is. They were laughing at you for saying that it's fire. Evidently, you are too white to say something. Check it out. It's fire, according to the room.
Anyone got any chains I could wear or anything? I mean, geez.
Who owns fire? Who owns the word fire as a
A
compliment?
culture?
Really?
No, I'm asking you.
No, I did not. No, I honestly didn't know that fire was a complimentary word associated with black or white or anything else. I'm learning. I'm not disagreeing that
It's a good
isn't.
question. Yeah.
Just fire. I mean, a very generic.
It's just a
word.
term for good, like, you know.
That's what I thought.
It's really, I think, marijuana based.
Why'd everyone
Fire.
laugh at you for saying it?
I don't
right?
know. I'm just
Right.
saying. I think that the origins of fire being a compliment. I know I sound really white, detailing this for my dad, but fire. It's like weed. When weed's good, it's fire, and when
Right.
food's good, it's fire. Everything's fire now. Anything
Okay.
good is fire.
All right. There used to be a song called Fire. Was it the Ohio Players?
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Earth, Wind, and Fire. Exactly. Philip Bailey, former Greg Cote Show podcast guest,
Oh, wow.
lead singer of EWF.
Played around the golf.
Damn right he did. Yeah, I would like to say hello to him this past time at Tahoe, except I wasn't invited.
Had that song Easy Lover totally stolen from him, though. Do not put Phil Collins on your track.
No.
Let that be a word to the wise.
Yep.
I would love. We can't give
Thanks, Mike.
any for the audience. We cannot give them any sample of Juju. We want to just support by sending them to where it is that Juju resides.
If you take any advice from me, let it be known, never give Phil Collins a feature on your track.
Word to the wise.
Word to the wise.
Phil Collins lives. It's a sad story, man.
Everyone thinks
It's sad.
Easy Lover is his song. It's true. You would never know. It's not.
Because he covered it so well.
No, because he's on the track and it's the only voice that you remember. Really? Right? You back me up on this. This guy knows.
I don't know the song that well.
Ah!
No, I really don't.
You know, it was the first ever WrestleMania song. And that concludes Easy Lover Trivia.
I was on a double-decker tour bus of Miami touring some stuff last week, and
You did one of those?
Yes, I
Why?
did do one
I mean,
of
you
those.
lived here your entire life.
I know.
Nothing else to do,
You
huh?
should be the tour guide.
No, Dan surprised me with this. Like, he would go on trips where he would just backpack for like a week in Miami. You'd really get to know his hometown.
Wow. Would you lose a bet?
I actually enjoyed it a lot for a lot of different reasons, but one of them is being able to see into buildings, second, third, and fourth floors, a side of Miami I'd never seen. Regardless, I'm listening to the history of Miami as it's happening, and we go by the arena. And do you guys know who scored the first basket of the century in the arena historically?
I think it was John Amici.
It was John Amici. That
Really?
is correct. Yes, and so that's wildly uninteresting, but it's why I recommend touring your
They
city.
told you that on the trivia?
They would go through things like that. They came by here and they said that this is where we host the show. They gave us.
Did you stand up and wave? Say, I'm
They
here.
didn't know you were on
Here I
the.
am.
They didn't know that you were on the bus.
They did not know.
You are so married. I mean,
Dan was driving the bus. That's a
You think that
part-time
was with my?
income.
No, that wasn't my wife. It was actually a date with Billy Corbett.
Oh, God.
what? That's weirder.
Thanks for the invite.
Was he fact checking the person that was hosting the thing?
Thanks for the non-invite.
Is Jeff Bezos doing Jay-Z like a solid? Because he obviously doesn't need partners to buy a football team. Like, what is it just for star power? What is the?
Well, Jay-Z does need partners. Jay-Z
no, I
needs
know
partners.
he does. Jeff
Bezos
Bezos
doesn't,
doesn't need
right.
any. Yeah,
But I imagine it's the same reason that the Walton family has Lewis Hamilton involved in the Walton family does not need help from anybody. They could buy the Broncos cash. There is sort of I think the NFL is trying to at least optically get better about diversity. And so I would imagine if you can put together a bid that includes diversity, then I imagine it's viewed more favorably by the league.
Matthew McConaughey also reportedly has joined that group, and I'm always suspicious of the big public groups. I guess they're well-intentioned in this part because they want to get the public on their side, and if you're a Commanders fan, number one, you're super excited that Dan Snyder is gone, and now you have the prospect of the richest man in the universe and Jay-Z, an icon. You're going to feel really good because these are people that are successful. I think maybe not so much Bezos, but Jay-Z is likable. Matthew McConaughey, certainly likable. So you're going from a really bad situation optically to a situation you feel phenomenal about. I would just always say, typically in these types of cases, it's the G's that move in silence that you got to worry about.
Yeah, but you're making a presentation. You're trying to win a bid for an NFL team. So wouldn't you put your best foot forward? Like, wouldn't you include everyone in that ownership group if it enhances your?
I'm a little confused. I mean, I would assume Bezos has is operating from a point of leverage because it's not without precedent. But to be a league media partner, I mean, he was sitting right next to Roger Goodell, and Jay-Z has certainly worked his relationships with the NFL over the last few years. You would think this would be their moment.
The Jay-Z move, you can only get through those particular bejeweled doors if you're willing to make some compromises, as he has had to make, being used as a bridge on the Kaepernick stuff to a new NFL that's going to be welcoming and warm to minorities, lest you think this man has money, Jay-Z, obviously.
But he doesn't have $6 billion.
He does not have this money. He and his wife might have something close to this kind of worth. I don't know totally. There aren't a lot of people in the world who have this kind of worth, but Jay-Z, I think we can all agree.
Jay-Z's net worth, Google's not the most dependable when it comes to this. You got $500 million for Beyonce, $1.3 billion for Jay-Z. But those websites like Celebrity Net Worth are always full of holes.
Okay, and those are old, but those numbers you're talking about, so that we understand the stratosphere we're in, that is the amount of money that we missed by when we were originally talking about the value of Washington last week, and we were saying $5 billion, and it's actually $7 billion. I would assume that these owners the only thing that would keep Bezos out of their club is them threatened by him being able to buy them all. Like, they don't like Ballmer's one of the most disliked guys in the NBA. We like Ballmer. They don't like Ballmer. Ballmer's got more money than anyone in the room, and when those guys keep scoring with money, they don't tend to like the guys who have a lot more money than everyone in the room. Jerry Jones is the power broker in that sport. Bezos dwarfs him in fame, stature, power. I don't know how much Jerry Jones would like that, but I'd assume they'd want the Bezos name there, and I'd assume that Bezos would want to align himself in all the ways that make him popular in town. I've assumed this is always a play. The Washington home that he bought and the buying of the Washington Post, I thought he always wanted this team, and now being able to get Amazon Prime in the game because he's already got a relationship with Goodell, I'm simply assuming, even though Mike says in silence, that no one beats Bezos to stuff he wants. Not even in this club. Not even in this self-important club. I simply assume Bezos is going to be the next owner of that team.
I say this, and we should probably have a business reporter on this because it's pretty fascinated. There isn't an antitrust thing that you have to worry about a media partner being a full controlling.
Well, he'd sell the
He would have to
Washington
drop
Post.
that stuff,
if
right?
If there is that, I've always.
Well, it's not just that. It's also Amazon Prime, and they have a rights deal. Like you can see a scenario in which that's not a good faith negotiation. If I'm one of the league's media partners, if I'm ESPN, CBS, Fox, I'm a little worried about letting Jeff Bezos have control of a team because how are my negotiations?
Well, how about Bezos, who joins the book business in order to take over commerce? What's stopping Bezos from coming in the room and dragging all of those guys? Because he wants everything for himself. He wants everything to exist on Amazon, where you can watch a football game on Whole Foods at Amazon, like sitting in aisle 3, because he owns everything.
But to Mike's point, can you be an owner of an NFL team and be a media partner of the NFL? I don't know how that works.
When I said it's not without precedent, I know in Major League Baseball, which has several antitrust exemptions that are easy to find, Disney did own the California Angels at one point before selling it, and they had a media rights deal with Major League Baseball, but I don't know how it works with the NFL.
Do you guys remember, you might be too young to remember, when Wayne Huizenga was trying to get around some of this stuff because he wanted to own all the sports teams in towns, but there wasn't any, there were rules against you can only own so many teams. So suddenly the mystery bidder who appeared was his brother-in-law, like Whit Watson, or whatever what that guy's name was.
Whit Watson.
His name was Whit something, Whit Hudson, or do you remember what his name was? Regardless, it was a total puppet of look over here, my family member.
Whit Watson.
Whit Watson was a host at
CrucialHumanitarian.com bowl.
I mean,
I don't remember. I can't for the life of me remember what this guy's name was.
No, I can't. It was a name like Whit Watson. It was that kind of a name.
I wasn't sure whether it was an actual person or someone who had been constructed in a lab by Huizenga to be a fake family member. I don't know what Bezos can do here. Don't you assume if Bezos wants something, he gets it?
I mean, it's all subject to approval, right? That ultimately, I understand your point about not wanting to let him in the club, they can do that, though. They could block him from getting in the club.
And you believe...
Oh, they wouldn't do that.
Are there betting odds on this?
You don't think that they've said no to plenty of... There's only 32 of them right now, presently. They've said no to a lot of people that aren't used to getting told no.
Aren't you, as we start this show talking about Irsay and how these rich people think that they're smarter than they are because we worship money in this country, and they don't think. Irsay inherited his money. And a lot of times with inheritances, some people think that being born on third base means that you hit a home run. You guys don't think that in this room full of rich people, who Dominique Foxworth says he sat across from Jerry Jones in a negotiation and realized immediately, oh, this person's not smarter than I am. Why did I think he was smarter than I was? Why did I assume that he was smarter than I am? Because he has all this money. You don't believe that threatened room of high schoolers who are 80 years old might look at Bezos and just be scared of him? Scared that he's better at this than they are, that he is...
Well, he becomes the star of the ownership group. Like, he becomes their star.
I'm asking you, Jerry Jones likes doing interviews. Jerry Jones is on the sideline with his toy. Jerry Jones gives a lot of access to Don Van Natta to follow him around because Jerry Jones likes being an owner, likes being seen big as an owner in Texas, likes having the bathroom pictures, doesn't care that he's messy.
Why does he keep giving access to DVN? Does he think that these portrayals are flattering?
He does not mind the attention. He's always said this, man. In the 90s, when Michael Irvin's going to the courthouse with a fur, Jerry Jones was always about, this is the circus. It's all entertainment. It's all nonsense. I'm going to build a giant stadium. Watch how I rip everyone off. I'm the oil man. It's all not. I don't even have to be good at this. We don't have to win. I can run off Jimmy Johnson, and we can go 30 years without winning anything meaningful, but I got the big stadium, and I'm the most powerful guy in the NFL, even though you can't. And Stugotz last week says, they're good at drafting after 30 years of not being good at it because the media is not very good about covering this grift they've got at the top of the sport.
I must admit, I have a real hard time finding a connection point as to whether one billionaire is going to be intimidated by another mega billionaire. I just can't fathom the wealth.
But the difference is Jerry Jones is a pauper compared to Jeff Bezos. It's a whole different level of rich.
Everyone is, Greg.
And so the question is, if you're a mere $7 billion rich guy, are you impressed by or afraid of Jeff Bezos? The league wants him, but do the other owners? What does it take, a 75% vote?
What Mike is saying, and the Marlins did this, David Sampson did this when A-Rod and Jeter, who have had plenty of success, wanted the Marlins, and they were trying to drive up the price. What Mike is saying is real G's move in silence. So, of course, you put Bezos in the commissioner's box. If
it's a hell of a stalking horse.
You want to drive up the price.
Yeah, it's an incredible stalking horse. Right now, Bank of America that's handling these negotiations is loving every single one of these stories. Oh, McConaughey's joining in it now? Great. You're just driving up the price. It is a very public stalking horse.
And an amazing one, the best one you can have, is it not?
You can't find a better one.
I think and have thought for years that one of his plays was he wants the football team because it's just guaranteed profit. It's the easiest money in the world. But did they just drive up the price $3 billion because they want to keep setting records with this? Did they just drive up the price $3 billion merely by everyone knowing, oh, Bezos is in the game. He's in the box with the commissioner. They're sitting there together. Who wants this? Rich people who love to play this game. This is the most exclusive club. It's guaranteed money. It's guaranteed. These things don't depreciate. We're about to sell one to Bezos for $7 billion unless you've got a little more.
Well, stay tuned for Thursday when we talk to David Sampson about it because he's got experience in handling these negotiations, and none of us can fathom what this is like.
I'm trying to figure out this Whit Watson thing because he currently works for the Golf Channel. I need to figure out whose name, what name it was. Oh, we did. Okay.
His name is Harris Whit Hudson. He bought management control of the Miami Heat on August the 10th. He lost his life as an obscure, intensely private multimillionaire waste hauler from Fort Lauderdale. There you go.
Tragic story.